Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.
Tim, you've had a lot of great moments at Bowman Gray and other places. What is the one moment in racing that you feel like is the one that you'll never ever forget, that just stands out above everything else?
In all honesty,
I do the same thing. It's like, how do I narrow it down to one?
Man, I can't. I mean, in all honesty, I guess the first time I ever sat in a modified, first time I ever sat in a race car, because I remember how excited I was as a kid to have bought my first race car with no help. Like, you know, my grandpa went with me and said, yeah, that'll work for your starter car or whatnot, but financially no help, you know what I mean? And we bought it in like July and was planning on racing it the next year. So it's sitting there and we worked on it all winter, and you're like, okay, now it's time, you know what I mean? And strapping in that thing and going and making the first laps, it's like, man, this is cool. And then you come in and it's like, well, how was that? And he's like, about 4 seconds off. You know what I mean? And I'm like, okay, well, it's still fun. You know what I mean?
So my 1 second off the pole first time out, pretty good, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
All right. Junior Miller let me drive his car for the record, and it was a blast.
Yeah. So
and it gave me a whole newfound respect for what you guys were trying to do.
Yeah. If one thing sticks out, it would be Langley. I won a tour race at Langley.
Okay.
And before the race, there was a little girl that had cancer. And I didn't think I'd have a shot at winning the race, honestly. You know what I mean? And for whatever reason, I told that little girl, I was like, hey, you know, you hang in there, you're going to be okay. If I win this race, then I'm going to give you the trophy. You know what I mean?
That's awesome.
And lo and behold, I won the race. You know what I mean? And sure enough, as soon as and the team I was driving for never won a race, ever.
Awesome.
Like the whole time so there's this big old trophy, you know what I mean? I grab that trophy and I take off because she's across the racetrack and up. And
they're like, well, bring your trophy back.
Yeah. So when I gave her that trophy, that to me was like the pinnacle. You know what I mean? Just the joy that it gave her. Then when I get back down to the car owners, Tom McConney's like, did you really give her the trophy? I was like, yeah, but I worked it out. I got you one coming. I'll pay for it. He's like, oh, you got to do that. But I did. I did.
Yeah. It was really special for them.
It was. And I'm not telling this story to pump me up or nothing, but in all honesty, the joy that little girl got, knowing her health condition and all that changed my life. That's why I give all my trophies away now. Just because of that one girl was like in awe of that trophy. You know what I mean? And her family, we stayed in touch, and you know, they'd send me pictures of her with a trophy periodically and things like that. And
so you really can be a nice guy, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Away from the racetrack. I mean, the race was over at that point, right?
We were talking with Tim a minute ago about his son coming up. You got one too, and tell me a little bit about Slate. Jason's got Max now, so all three of you guys, Jason Myers. All three of you guys got little boys now. Tell me what's going on there. We got a budding race car driver.
Back in 2014, Philip Smith's grandson Luke, they had a go-kart, and we took it and we went and ran we ran a dozen races probably, and he did really good. And I don't want to be one of those dads that just pushes it.
Right.
He loves it. He's around it. Whenever he does get in a go-kart, he's got a dirt bike now. Like you said, the hand and eye coordination. Christmas morning was the first time he'd ever ridden a dirt bike. It was a 140 with a clutch. First time he'd really ever ridden a dirt bike. And 2 days later, he's jumping, getting there, and doing tricks. I mean, really,
I used to jump shopping carts.
And so, even though that is a dirt bike,
yeah.
even though it's a dirt bike, it's the hand-eye coordination, and it's I call it the fire to perform, the fire to show off. I mean, let's just be honest. I mean, that's what we're doing, is showing off in front of 12,000 people. So
I resemble that.
But he kind of got away from it a little bit. He loves basketball. And we'll be out somewhere and somebody will ask him if he wants to race, and he said no. And I said, why not? And he said, I love basketball. So he just turned 12 in August, and every once in a while I'll throw a comment in there. But I know times are different now, but I didn't get in my first race car race my first race till I was 17 years old.
Right.
And that's the way it worked back then.
Right.
You know, you had to have a driver's license to
Yeah.
race.
Yeah.
It's not like now where these
Yeah.
kids are
14,
running super late
13,
models.
yeah.
Riley Neal's
12.
getting ready to run a super late model at 12 and 13 years old. So it was different.
At Orange County Speedway, and I won't tell all the details, but Brian could barely reach the pedals. Okay, so.
But anyway, I think that he hasn't really embraced it yet. And if he doesn't, you know what? I can really say I'm okay with it because I want him to race. I mean, you know, a dad wants his son to race when you're in the lifestyle that we have. But if he decides not to, you know, it won't break my heart as long as he's doing something that makes himself happy. So, but as far as Max is concerned, I think Max would probably get in there today if you would let him. So,
Yeah.
at least we got one Myers that
I
might
love
come up
watching
and
him
do
up
it.
stands, man. He high fives me when I
So
go down
my
the
daughter
steps.
Jade always fusses at me about how I didn't teach her how to drive a 5-speed because she said I'd be racing if you did. So
I got you.
people say it's in the.
If you need any lessons, just give me a call.
Well, I've actually been approached. I've been approached. I won't say who approached me, but I've been approached to try to line it up to put Jade in a 4-cylinder
There you
at
go.
Bowman Gray
Awesome.
Stadium. So if I get one with an automatic, we might could work it out. Until then, I got to teach her how to drive a 5-speed.
That's funny.
Well, little breaking news here today. You guys know I've been around racing a long time. I've done just about everything you can, but there's one thing I haven't done. You know what that is? And that's actually get in a race car in an actual competition and race. And my man, Jason Turner at Ace Speedway, is working that out for me. So old Randy Pettitt is going to get a chance to get out there and mix it up. My son, a lot of fans have met my son. He has Asperger, which is a very high functioning form of autism. And my son, when I was up at Franklin County Speedway, got to run the IndyCar division. Never raced anything in his life, and he finished 3rd out of 26
wow.
cars.
That's
So-
awesome.
So that's my proudest moment in racing,
say.
watching my boy. And he held his line. People were trying to wreck him, put him in the wall, and he just held his line and run his race. And he finished 3rd. And man, you talking about a happy dad? That was pretty.
That's awesome
moment,
right there.
man.
Yeah.
Worst decision you've ever made at Bowman Gray Stadium?
Tim Brown goes a little spin cycle here in the north turn.
The one moment that if you could go back and hit the rewind button and undo it, what would it be?
I've had so many of them too. It'd be hard to.
I'm glad you asked him first.
What's the biggie?
Give me time to think.
Is the big one? You know the one I'm thinking about.
Well,
but
there's.
what's your thought?
I can tell you. I'd say the night that me and Burt had our deal was probably the most embarrassing.
The Meltdown 2014. People that are not regulars at Bowman Gray, I've been all over the country this year, guys. I was out in Louisiana, and somebody asked me about the Madhouse TV program, and they asked me about that, and I answered it, and I explained that it was just two guys that had both just, they just reached a melting point where they had to let it out and get it over with, and that's kind of what it was, and we went on, and, we raced on, but my point in all that is, there's so much more to Bowman Gray than moments like that. But unfortunately, with social media and all the hype and everything, that's a lot of the stuff that everybody remembers. That's why I wanted to bring it up. And I wanted to tell the fans, both of you guys, neither one of you had any ounce of hesitation agreeing to sit down here today together. When you guys were growing up, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys were pretty close friends.
Absolutely.
You guys went on vacation together.
Yeah.
And then as the wins and the championships started piling up and your fan base started doing this, it's become a little more difficult to be best pals, hasn't it?
I've lost fans because I'll speak up for Burt. Like, I've had diehard Tim Brown fans, and they'd be talking smack about Burt. It's like, look, you guys don't know him. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like that. He's here to win races. I'm here to win races. We're here to win championships. He's not a bad guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever had
Yeah.
fans do the same thing, but and then they're like, well, screw you. Like, you know what I mean? How can you be that way? Like, you know what I mean? And I was like, look, we're racers. Like,
Was it?
I've done a lot of stuff that I'm ashamed of, and I hope that my children don't ever get to go back and look and see. I'm better than that today. I may not have been that night, or.
And that's why I was giving you a hard time earlier, talking about the little girl. We've all, me included, have had moments like that where we've done something that made. I've went to Brenda Children's Hospital and done things myself. I don't talk about it. I don't put it on Facebook, but it's stuff that just. That's why we do it. You know, these kids sitting in the stands, they love it. It's an opportunity for us to be a blessing for somebody else's life.
Yeah.
How did you get behind that moment? And I'm going to give you an opportunity to respond to that in a moment. How did you get that behind you?
You just have to forget about it. You know what I mean? You just have to. I made a promise to myself. No good came of that night.
Right, I agree.
For me or you.
Right,
Like,
I agree.
none. You know what I mean?
It's the first time since I've been on the mic at Bowman Gray that I was speechless. If you'll go back and listen, I said a couple things, but I pretty much sat there and just let it play out. What do you say? What can you say to that? It was just a meltdown of two guys that were really passionate about what they were doing, and you guys disagreed with each other, and it just kind of came unhinged, and you know, it's been a long time ago, but it's something nobody that was there that night will ever forget, including you guys.
Yeah. So, you know, and I don't know how it was for Burt, but like for me, that night lives on for a while.
Right.
You know, like Monday night when you're fixing the car, like you dumbass, you tore your race car all to pieces, and it
Yeah.
costs you money to put it back together.
Were you able to fix that car?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then the phone calls from your sponsors. Man, what the hell are you doing? You know, I mean, this ain't what we pay you to do. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
They
then,
got a lot of publicity out of it, though,
and
but
then-
not the kind they were looking
yeah,
for.
and then my work, you know, they call me in and set me down and say, look, man, like, you know, you're a role model to this company and not. And then it starts to sink in that what about an 8 or 10 or 12-year-old kid sitting in the grandstands watching me and Burt, looking up to us as idols, and then they watch us or me act like that.
Right.
It's embarrassing. You know what I mean? So I made a promise to myself. A situation like that arises again, it'll be handled different. I'll still handle it, but it'll be handled different.
Gotcha.
So if me and Burt get into it again, it'll be between me and him, between our trailers,
Hey.
I'd rather
or
do
in the
that.
parking lot
I've said
out
that
here,
for years.
or
Me and Junior Miller
you
spent
know
a
what I
bunch of
mean?
money where we could have just
yeah,
fought.
you know what I
and
mean.
all right.
And with that being said, then it's between me and him, and not 15,000 people watching it,
Right.
and 10 million people on Instagram or Facebook or
Right.
any of that.
Fair,
You know what
fair
I mean?
enough. Burt, same to you. Is that maybe the low point of your Bowman
I've
Gray
had
career?
a couple more than Tim
the
has.
other one, you know, you're probably not on Brad Robbins' Christmas card.
Yeah.
Either.
You know, the thing about it is I did it, so I can't I can't say anything about it because it was me. I did it. And same thing with that night is I just didn't think the punishment fit the crime. It was double points. I'd had a bad first race. It was a second race. Brad was holding me up, something terrible.
Hold on a minute. That's my phone ringing. That's Danny Bone. He wanted to thank both of you guys.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Anyway, and I bumped Brad off the corner and he spun out. And just for the record, Brad apologized to me the next week, and I apologized to him. It was a mess. It was a mess, but I just didn't think the punishment fit the crime. And then he waited on me and he stuffed me in the fence, and I'd had enough. You know, I'd had enough. And see, we grew up in a time where, with Daddy and Junior and Ralph, and maybe not Junior, Daddy and Ralph and Johnny and those guys, to where if you were holding a guy up, you were expected to be moved, not wrecked, not stuffed in the fence, but you moved them.
Right.
And it somehow or another, in the last how many ever years, it's gone from that to you move a guy, they want to wait on you and put you in the wall. Right. And
That stuff didn't
and
go
it's
on
just
when I was at
part
Bowman Gray
right,
coming
and
up.
and
was
it's
very
just
rare.
the nature of the beast. Bowman Gray, the formula they have, with the handicap system and the draws and everything that they have, and it's a flat quarter mile, 600 plus horsepower, riding around a football field. And when you put the fast cars in the back and put some of the mid-pack guys towards the front, I know when I was racing, if a Johnny or Daddy or Philip was in my mirror and putting pressure on me, I go in the corner with one eye closed,
Right.
waiting to be moved out of the
Right,
way.
right,
I mean, it was just the way it was. And
Right.
when they did, you might say, even if they did it excessively, and you thought maybe it was a little bit too aggressive, you put it in the back of your mind, he said, there'll be a day I can get them back,
Right.
where I can move them.
Right.
Not, well, wait till they come back around and then stuff them in the fence. Now listen, I'm not trying to be a hypocrite because I've waited on Junior Miller before.
Exactly.
I
was gonna
think
bring
the
that up.
only car I've ever waited on was Junior Miller.
Right.
And I don't know how many people watching this know how much history was, but there was a lot that led up to
Right,
all
I
that
understand.
stuff. There was a lot of history there.
There was
but
a reason behind
there
it.
was a reason behind a lot of that stuff.
right.
But either way, it doesn't make it right. And, there's been times I ran into Junior, me and Tim did that thing, and then me and Robbins, and there's been a lot of stuff. And like I heard you ask Tim, how do you put it behind you? Go to the next race. That's basically how I put it behind me, is just go to the next race and just keep racing and keep trying to erase some of the bad you did. But the old saying too is you do a million good things and all it takes is one bad thing for everybody to remember. So
Exactly.
you just
And
keep
that
plugging
was
away.
to me, that was the most unfortunate thing about the whole incident, was the fact that I know you guys will stay there until the last autograph is signed. You guys, I've never seen either one of you guys tell a kid no on an autograph. You guys have stood there in the rain and signed stuff for kids and did things with people. And I know you guys do things behind the scenes that's not talked about to do good in your community. And I know you're good guys. And everybody that plays a sport, whether it's football or basketball or drives a race car, if you're a winner, you got that fire. You're so competitive. Sometimes it gets the better of you. And basically, would you agree that's kind of what happened that night?
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well,
sure.
you two guys are here together. Is there anything you want to say to each other? I'll let you go first.
I'm just working hard trying to beat you. That's all I can tell you. Like, we're building some new cars, and I'm fortunate enough to have Bruce Hayes and Todd Hunt and Chris Fletcher.
Talk about those
supporting.
sponsors and your team. And I'll give you a chance to do that as well. That's part of the secret to the success of you guys. You've had guys on your team that have been there for years and decades, and then sponsors have been behind you likewise. So
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit.
So, I guess this would have been the first year that I would drive for Todd Hunt after, driving for Bruce Hayes. So, Bruce and Todd put a deal together for me to just basically race for them and their equipment, not my cars and all, which is a relief to me to not have to spend, my money.
Right.
And this was going to be the first year of that venue for this new race team, and we didn't get to race. So, Todd Hunt, Bruce Hayes, Chris Fletcher with Traffic Control Safety Solutions is on board. Mobile One, and we got so many people to list and talk about to thank. But the main people are Todd Hunt, Bruce Hayes, and Chris Fletcher. We're building 2 brand new race cars, like the first car we come out with this year that was new, that ran well. Kind of what Burt's been riding in for years and beating us. Same deal, you got to get, if you can't beat them, you got to join them, right?
Right.
So, different tag on it. It's still a Troyer, but it's the same car. And motor programs, like we're doing, Dick and Bob's building everything they can to get us
These are
more
guys that
motor.
had a cup team years ago.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
this is a real deal, yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, we've never been down on power ever. You know what I mean? And they're still working hard. And you mentioned a while ago that it's just the 1st of January. We haven't stopped. Like, we picked up our first new car in August and the second one in October for 2021. You know what I mean? And we've been working diligently on those cars to try to get them done. And that's all. It is what it is. We're just working hard to try to come back and win 11th championship.
Burt, I'll give you an opportunity. Anything you want to say to Tim, and a chance to, to brag on your guys a little bit. You've got a great sponsor too, several. CitraSafe, the one that comes to mind. But talk about that a minute.
Yeah, CitraSafe's been with me we were trying to count the other day. I think it was right around 2010.
And for the fans that don't know what that is, what is
It's Citrus Safe is a grill cleaner.
Right.
It's basically a degreaser.
And it works. I've
it
used
works.
it.
It
It's a
works great.
product.
It
Yeah.
works great.
And it's good for the environment. It won't hurt you.
Absolutely, you can squirt it right on your grill and wash it off, and it's not like back in the old days of the easy off oven cleaner or whatever, where it falls
you got to degrease your burger that first one off
right.
the grill.
So
Right.
you can do it right on there, and I joke with Tommy and the guys at Citrus Safe. If you get a power steering leak in your belly pan on your race car, has got fluid and stuff on it, you can use it as a degreaser. I use it at the car wash. I spray my tires and wheels when I
Cool deal.
clean my tires. So it's just it's a eco-friendly degreaser basically, but it's designed for a grill cleaner. But
And your group, just like Tim's, your core group's been together a long time, and that's got to be part of the secret to why you guys are so good.
well, absolutely. If you think about it, if you compare it to like a basketball team or a football team, you get that chemistry, and you get to the point where, and I know Tim's the same way. I know when I get to the racetrack, this guy does this, and this guy does this. That takes it off of me. That lets me worry about making the race car go fast. I don't have to worry about heating the oil. I don't have to worry about spinning the oil. I don't have to worry about putting the car on jack stands. I don't have to worry about that stuff because these guys know what to do. Or if you got a lot of turnover, you don't know who's doing what, and that takes a lot of stress off of you. But my guys, a lot of them are family or like family that have been with me from day one. But this past season, which was a wacky season anyway, I picked up Backyard Leisure. Alan Mosier and those guys came on board, and he let me know the other day that he's coming back on board.
That's awesome.
For 21, Mac at Haviland Express, John Cleanup Supply, the NASCAR Institute, Daryl Hoffman and them guys do my motors. I don't have anything new coming for this year. My car was new last year, and it ran Bowman Gray only. We went through it and everything.
You
And
mean 2019?
2019, yeah, I'm
with you.
sorry.
I understand. That's fine.
But anyway, I ran it one time at Ace and one time at Franklin County. Other than that, the car's fresh. So I'm basically just sitting there on go, ready to get it done.
And while we're talking about sponsors, I just wanted to say this, and I'm looking at the camera, and and I don't know if there's going to be hundreds of people watching this, thousands, tens of thousands, a million. It doesn't matter. If you're a race fan, 2020 was a horrible year, and you're going, well, what can I do? Well, what I did is I started the show because I wanted, my guys at Bowman Gray, my guys at Ace Speedway and Caraway and all the tracks, in the central part of North Carolina. And I'm going to have some Cup guys, and I got 2 Xfinity guys coming later today. We're going to have guys from NHRA, Truck Series, but a lot of the show is going to be centered around weekly racing because that's the grassroots of our sport. These fans, if you're wondering what can you do, I'll tell you what you can do. Don't go to a big box retail store and buy something. Don't go online and buy something. If you're looking for a diamond, you need to go to Hayes Jewelers, okay? If you're looking for something to clean your grill, buy Citrus Safe, okay? You know who these sponsors are. I know you guys get sick of me talking about them all the time, but that's my job. And I even get tired of talking about them. But when I'm at the track, that's my job, is to make sure people hear about these companies. Support these companies, okay? Turn and Burn Raceway, Bryant Robertson, who his family been a part of Bowman Gray for years. Bryant's came in here and took time away from his son and his family, opened this place up so we can use it. Come here and check this place out. Spend some money with him. Bring your kids. If you're a big kid like we are, you'll love this place. It's a lot of fun. But guys, pay attention to these sponsors. They need you right now, okay? It's tough on these small businesses. Don't go to a chain store. Go to Pulliam's Hot Dogs and get something to eat.
Absolutely.
And don't go to McDonald's. Go to these local businesses. Get your oil changed at Haviland Express in Kernersville. Deal with these people that love racing like you do. Don't spend your money somewhere else, okay? That's my preaching for today. Now,
Amen.
we're talking about families. Your family, I'll let you get to your family in a minute. Not as well known, but your family, the Clifton family. Tell us a little. You're a spinoff of the Clifton family, which people go, oh, Clifton. Okay, I know Clifton. You got Ronnie Clifton, 8-time sportsman champion. Zach Clifton, another sportsman champion. Michael Clifton. Michael won a bunch of poles and modified races. But that's your cousins, right?
Yeah, so my grandpa, Eb Clifton, and his brother Fuzzy Clifton raced, the first years of the stadium. And
So Eb and Fuzzy go all the way back to the very beginning,
oh
right?
yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, and not just the stadium, but NASCAR. Like
Right,
Grandpa
exactly.
was part
Yeah.
of,
Yeah.
along with some of Bert's family that helped get it started and up and running. And then, my grandpa and Leon were stepbrothers.
Gotcha.
So we're all.
And Leon Clifton, for the newer fans, Leon built motors at Bowman Gray that were just stout, man. Leon if you had a sportsman car and you run up front or street stock a long time, Leon was the man.
Yeah.
He built the motors.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that's the history of my family, you know, from the start of the stadium. And
So
we're
it's
just
in your
trying to-
blood, right?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And then, you know, from the time I was old enough to walk, you know, I spent time in my grandpa's shop. He'd set me in the cars and I'd make engine noise when there wasn't even a motor in it and play, you know what I mean? And I knew I wanted to race from the time I stepped foot in that shop the first time. And, you know, fortunate enough to get to do it and have some success at it. So, and to me, family's huge now that I've, you know, got Megan and Cam and Marley will be here in, you know, a few weeks.
Girl,
that's what
right?
it's all about, man.
Awesome.
You know what I mean? The family's what it's all about.
Burt, your family a little bit greater known than Tim's perhaps, but still, you know, we have all these great families. The Robertson family, you know, we're sitting in here in their place. You know, you've got them. You got the Wards. We're talking about the Cliftons.
Johnsons. There's so
yeah,
many
the
of them.
Johnsons. We're going to have them on our show. A lot of great families at Bowman Gray. You were born into it too.
Yeah, like I think we can all say it was not if I race, it was when I race.
Right.
There was never a doubt in my mind. I never thought, you know, I can remember thinking, mumbling in the back of my mind when teachers would try to get me to learn Shakespeare and do this and do that in school, and I'm thinking, I don't need to know that stuff. Unless they're going to have it at Bowman Gray, I'm not going to need it. So, you know, of course, we all had that aspiration of being a, you know, a big time NASCAR driver or whatever you want to call it. And the funny thing is, I can remember praying years ago, silly because I didn't know any better at the time, I guess, but I would pray to make it. That was my prayer. Man, God, just let me make it. And over the last several years, I've come to realize that
you did make it.
I have made it, just
Yeah,
not in the way that I thought I would make it. But that was His plan, not mine.
Right.
And I the way I look at it is had I gone and been let's say a cup driver, I wouldn't have met Kim.
Right.
We wouldn't have Slate, and I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you guys right now. So he had a plan for me. It just wasn't my plan. But coming up in our family, I never thought about it. Now, my grandpa and his brother, my grandpa Billy and his brother Bobby, died in the 50s. So, of course, I didn't know them. But, you know, I hear a lot of the war stories and how all the different stuff. And, of course, the NASCAR Cup Series, they present the Myers Brothers Award every year. So our family's fortunate enough to be a part of that. And then I think Daddy started racing when he was 16. Of course, you got Chocolate, and you got Randy, who's been involved in racing forever. And now me and my brother. So, man, it's, like I said, it's people call it a hobby. And I don't really get offended, but I correct them very quickly. It's not a hobby for us.
This
it's
is
a
your
lifestyle.
life.
This
Yeah.
is a
Yeah.
lifestyle.
This is your
for
life.
us.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Babies are planned around racing season, and vacations are planned around racing season.
Absolutely.
Weddings are planned around racing season. So me and my
consumes your
brother were
life.
both born. I was born in December. He was born in November. You know why? Because it wasn't racing season.
That's right.
So they probably planned that out just like we did too. So it's something that's consumed us. There's pros and cons, but I can honestly say that my life feels full. I'm very happy with where I am, and man, I've had a blast getting here.
Now, I mentioned the Bowman Gray Stadium Mount Rushmore, and I'm going to get them all worked up and stirred up on Facebook. But I have my personal Mount Rushmore, and three of them are here today, and I'm going to get the other guy to come over here. We got lights and stuff there. I'm going to get him to walk in the camera here. Just come on over here and get in the shot here with us. Ladies and gentlemen, what's better than having 20 Bowman Gray Stadium
How you
Modified
doing, Ralph?
championships?
Hey, Ralph.
It's
What's up,
having
buddy?
stand right here
How you
beside
doing?
of me, Ralph. It's having 28 Bowman Gray Stadium championships. The legend, the man, Ralph Brinkley, ladies and gentlemen. So, man, you talk about a lot of wins and a lot of championships right here. We got 1, 2, 3, brother. Ralph, thanks for coming by today. We're going to get this guy on Rattling The Rollcage by himself, but I wanted to ask you, did you ever dream that you'd see not one guy but two guys do what these guys have done?
No.
Isn't it crazy?
Yep.
You raced against both of these guys.
Yep.
Yep.
Not as much against
Not
him,
what-
but
not much, yeah.
I pushed him down straight away.
I got you.
Taught me a lot of lessons too, didn't you, Ralph?
So
What to do and what
would
not
it
to
be
do.
fair to say if you had a Mount Rushmore for Bowman Gray Stadium Modified Racing, these two guys right here would be on it, don't you think?
That sure would, yep.
Yeah. Yep. Now everybody's going to go, okay, Randy, who's your fourth one? I got Tim Brown, Burt Myers, Ralph Brinkley. My fourth guy is Junior Miller. Okay. So that would be my personal Mount Rushmore. Junior's not here. I'm going to have him on a future program, and I know all three of y'all love Junior Miller to death. So I'll leave that.
It'd be best to leave him off.
But Ralph's going to be up there with a jackhammer, taking the granite down if I put him up there.
A jack handle, maybe.
Yeah. Anyway, that is my Mount Rushmore. So fans watching this video, wow, what a treat for me as the Bowman Gray announcer and a kid growing up watching this guy and growing up with these guys. What a treat. So I want to know, what's your Bowman Gray Stadium Modified? We're going to do one for Sportsman, Street Stock, and Stadium Stock too. But what's your Bowman Gray Stadium Mount Rushmore? And we want you to feed that in the comments below, and we all look forward to seeing it and hearing it. But again, mine personally, and I'm going to catch some grief from some guys for this, because I was in Paul Radford's living room not too long ago, and I know Johnny Johnson and Philip Smith, and I know there's a lot of Perk Brown fans out there, and I'm going down the line, but my four would be you three guys and Junior Miller. So there you go. You got it. What do you think? Put it in the comments below. Okay. All right. Well, we're going to wrap things up. Man, I want to thank you so much. I know how busy you are. It's great to see you race a little bit this year. You got a beautiful family, and I wish you all the best in 2021. And I'm sure I'm going to be talking to you in Victory Lane somewhere. Bert, same. Thank you so much.
Yes, sir.
Again, thank you and your dad and your brother for coming on my podcast earlier a couple years ago. And I wish you all the best this year as well. And I know I'll be talking to you as well.
Hope so.
And the man right here, ladies and gentlemen, the 8-time Bowman Gray Stadium champion, and for a pretty good while, he was on top of the wins list with 64 main event victories. Junior Miller eventually got him, and then you two guys passed him as well. But Ralph Brinkley, we're going to be talking to him very soon right here on Rattling the Rollcage. Thank you to my producer, Lee Kraft. Be sure to check out Monday Morning Racer on YouTube. Thanks to all of our great sponsors. I'm Randy Pettitt, racing's greatest showman, and we'll see you soon on Rattling the Rollcage.
Check the mic and make sure it sound right, boys.